There's no such thing as sight reading. And symmetrical scales is the second classification of scales that we need to become familiar with, along with the associated chords and harmonies. Now, the symmetrical scales and chords are not based on a key signature. The symmetrical scales don't have to have one of each letter of the musical alphabet. Symmetrical scales are based on an interval. The most common example of a symmetrical scale is the chromatic scale. It's all half step. Half, 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 half. You also have whole tone scales and augmented scales. You got diminished scales and diminished chords. Diminished chords are minor third, minor third, minor third. Augmented chords, major third, major third. And because of this, because there's no key signature for these symmetrical scales and chords, there's more than one right way to spell them. But just because there's more than one right way to spell them doesn't mean there's not still a correct way to spell it. If you were to see, for example, the chromatic scale in a beginner band method, it'd probably show you all sharps on the way up and all flats on the way down. But when you encounter a chromatic scale in music, that's not how it's going to be written. If you're playing in the key of D flat, for example, with 5 flats in the key signature, you're not going to have a bunch of sharps in your chromatic scale. The composer is going to use the existing flats that are already in the key and then put naturals in between to make up those extra half steps. The spelling will be consistent with the overall key of the piece. So even though there's more than one right way to spell it, there's still going to be a correct way to spell it based on the key that you're in. And so these scales and chords are also identifiable and recognizable the same way you'd recognize words in a book. My name's Mark Dooley. I've been a private music teacher for 36 years, focused on practical theory and music literacy. If you want to hear more, follow me. If you like lessons, contact me. If you can learn how to read words, you can learn how to read music.